family of Senator John McCain, they just came out with a lengthy statement, notably saying that the senator has chosen to discontinue medical treatment, that he will no longer receive medical treatment that he's been receiving for that very aggressive form of brain cancer that he's been dealing with in a rather public way and since last summer, since last July, when he was formally diagnosed with brain cancer. I want to read you the statement that just came out from his family saying, quote, "Last summer, Senator John McCain shared with Americans the news our family already knew. He had been diagnosed with an aggressive glioblastoma and the prognosis was serious. In the years since, John has surpassed expectations for his survival, but the progress of the disease and the inexorable advance of age render their verdict. With his usual strength of will, he has now chosen to discontinue medical treatment. Our family is immensely grateful for the support and for the kindness of all his caregivers over the last year and for the continuing outpouring of concern and affection from John's many friends and associates and the many thousands of people who are keeping them in their prayers. God bless. And thank you all." So certainly a significant statement about the future of John McCain, the future of his health. Notable there, of course, Ryan, they note not only the aggressive form of cancer that he is suffering with, but of course his age, and that's certainly playing in. He has not been up here on Capitol Hill for quite some time. He is, of course, while he's receiving treatment at his home in Arizona, chimed in from the sidelines, potentially sometimes writing tweets. His office, of course, sending out statements to all the goings-on up here on Capitol Hill, but it has not been some time which we have been seeing up here in the halls of Congress casting that vote. Of course, one of his last votes, that of course very decisive vote on health care when he notably gave the thumbs down on the Senate floor, casting the fate of that bill. Certainly one of his last potential legacies up here on Capitol Hill. But for the moment, of course, many folks up here likely sending their support and love during, of course, what is an incredibly hard time for the McCain family at this moment. Ryan?
All right, no doubt. Sunlen Servati, thank you for that breaking news that Senator John McCain discontinuing treatment for an aggressive form of brain cancer. Let's bring in now CNN's Dana Bash, who's covered Senator McCain for quite some time. She's been tracking his prognosis as well. Dana, just your initial reaction to this news that Senator McCain will no longer be receiving cancer treatment.
Well, Ryan, this is a moment everybody knew would come, but it doesn't make it any easier, because John McCain, his whole MO, his whole life has been to be the fighter, to be indefatigable, and to not give up. And, you know, this is everybody who's had a family member or a loved one or a friend or known anybody who have had cancer, especially this kind of brain cancer that John McCain has, knows that this is just one that you can't beat. And even John McCain has known that. He has been home, as Sunlen was mentioning, in his happy place, his cabin near Sedona, Arizona, for quite some time. He has been with his family. He has been looking out at the birds and the creek that runs through that for months and months, and trying as much as he can to take in what he knows are his last months of life. And the fact that he has chosen to terminate treatment tells you a lot about how aggressive this is. Because the John McCain we have all known and loved and covered for so long, and when I say love, I mean people who have covered him for a long time and have had his wrath and his jokes and all the above, and even those who are his political enemies have come to love him and love him for this reason, that he doesn't give up.
Yeah, you mentioned the fact that he has made this decision to discontinue treatment says a lot about what the future has in store for Senator McCain. It seemed just a few months ago he was still patrolling the halls of Capitol Hill with that same vigor that he's had throughout his entire career. And to a certain extent, Dana, he and his family have been coy about exactly what his prognosis was. They had promised that he was working to get back to his job here on Capitol Hill. What does it say from your perspective about how engaged he has been about these big issues of the day? He may not be here in Washington, but his presence is loom large, hasn't it?
No question. And he has weighed in, obviously with the help of staff and his family around him on big issues, and has made an impact even from afar. But it is not the same and has not been the same without John McCain, to put it bluntly, in the face of people. And that is how he has been so successful as a politician, as a legislator, and as a leader in the U.S. and around the world. His presence, the fact that he is so aggressive with what he believes, and it has been hard with him home. My understanding is that, at least until somewhat recently, he was given a schedule every day. As senators get, as you know, Ryan, covering Congress, they get a schedule of what they're doing every day. He had a schedule to kind of, keep him in the groove of everyday life. But it got harder and harder as he got sicker and sicker. And look, not only is the disease something that is beyond horrible, the treatment for the disease is also something that always takes a toll. And he had really aggressive treatment for a while. And, as the statement from his family says, at his age and given the disease he has, that matters.
All right, Dana Bash, thank you for weighing in. Stick close, Dana. We'll come back to you in a moment. Let's now go to CNN political director David Chalian, who has obviously covered Senator McCain for quite a while. David, your reaction to this news about the next stage of John McCain's battle with cancer?
Well, it's this, inevitable moment in this terrible disease that we all wish was never going to happen, and yet we all knew that we would get some indication that this is the stage we would be at some point, and it's a day you never sort of want to experience, Ryan, of course. And in reading his family statement and in watching how his family has sort of been dealing with the last year, it is hard not to think in this time about what a missing voice John McCain's voice has been in this last year. I heard Sunlin talking with you about, obviously, that very dramatic summer 2017, last summer, health care vote, where he put his thumbs down, and that the president has relentlessly been going after him on that for the better part of the last year, and his daughter, his wife, needing to respond to that criticism while they're battling this disease with him and going through his medical care. But it is in moments like that where you think, my God, what would the political conversation in this town have been like for the last year if indeed John McCain's voice was a part of it? Time and again, somebody who ran his presidential campaign in 2008 under the slogan of country first, and having an entire sort of life's body of work supporting that slogan, what he would have been speaking to over the course of the last year, it is impossible not to wonder. But on a day like this where you read this statement, your heart immediately goes to his entire family that he's come to this decision to no longer receive medical care.
Yeah, and to your point, David, even though we haven't necessarily heard John McCain's voice, he's made it known through statements, still weighing in on some of the biggest issues of the day. So despite battling this aggressive form of cancer, certainly not left the political arena. David Chalian, thank you. We now want to read for you a tweet from Meghan McCain, his daughter, who's been very public about her father's struggles with cancer through this whole process. As David mentioned, she's been forced to kind of be a spokesperson on behalf of John McCain when he's been attacked by President Trump and others. This is Meghan McCain saying, quote, "My family is deeply appreciative of all of the love and generosity you have shown us during this past year. Thank you for all your continued support and prayers. We could not have made it this far without you. You've given us the strength to carry on." Now we're going to go to Wolf Blitzer, a man who's covered John McCain for a very extensive part of his career. Wolf, you've obviously probably knew that this news was coming at some point. It probably still has to come as a degree of a shock to hear someone like John McCain say that he's stepping back from a fight like this.
Yeah, because he has been a fighter his whole life, and I've known him for at least 30 years. Have interviewed him so many times, spent a lot of quality time with him over the years. Simply a great American, a great patriot, a wonderful politician, someone who was clearly a conservative Republican, but always ready to work with Democrats on specific issues, especially national security issues. Someone who was willing to spend an enormous amount of time learning about all of these issues. I watched him up close during many very sensitive moments, especially when he was running for president.